So in this video we're gonna see how we can create this simple stopwatch in React. So here we have the start and the reset button. So we can click on the start button and our stopwatch will start counting. And then also we can pause the count and also we can reset the count back to 0. So let's now see how we can create that stopwatch from scratch. So here we are in the VS Code editor and here we have React boilerplate code. Now we're gonna create the React functional component. So first of all, let's create structure of our application. So first of all, this is one container div. So here we're gonna add the class name of container. Now inside that we're gonna have another div which will contain our application. So we're gonna give this one class name of stopwatch. Now here we're gonna add one h1 with the title stopwatch. Now here we're gonna use one h2. So here we're gonna have the timer in format minute, seconds and milliseconds. Now below that timer we're gonna have another div and this div will contain all of our buttons. So here we're gonna assign the class name of buttons. So here inside we're gonna have two buttons. One button will be used for start and pause and another button will be used to reset the timer back to 0. So our structure of the application is ready. So you can see here we have the simple structure. Initially we're gonna start focusing on the functionality of our application. So in our application we need to have multiple state to keep track of the timer and all. So here first of all we need to keep track of the time. So we're gonna create the state, time and set time. We're gonna use the use state hook for that. It will have initial value of 0. Now to track whether our timer is running or not, we're gonna create another state, is running, set is running. So this will be one boolean state. So initially this will be false. And also because we are using the timer, so we need to keep reference of the timer so that we can clear the interval. So for that we're gonna use another timer ref and we're gonna use the use ref hook for that. So this will be initially null. So we are done with the states of our app. Now we have to start working on the functionality of our app. So because we are gonna show the timer right here in minute, seconds and millisecond format. So here we're gonna call one function format time. So we're gonna pass time in millisecond and the function will return a string in that format where we have the minute, second and milliseconds separated using colon. So let's now define that function. So const format time. So this will take time in milliseconds. So first of all let's just format the milliseconds. So get milliseconds. We're gonna module our milliseconds by 1000 and then we're gonna use the backtick to add 0 at the beginning of the time. Now once we have that and we wanted to slice it down and we're gonna get only the last 2 digits of that string, and this way we're gonna get milliseconds in 2 digits. Once done with that, then we're gonna get the seconds. To get the second we have to divide the time by 1000 which will return the second. Now we're gonna format this, so math.floor. So we're gonna float that value to get the seconds. So once we have the seconds, now we're gonna format this for our timer. So const get seconds. So here also we're gonna use the backtick to append 0 at the beginning of the second. Now after that we're gonna use the $n curly braces. Now inside that we're gonna have the second. So we're gonna module the second by 60 and after that we're gonna slice the second and we're only gonna get last 2 digits of the second. Let's now get the minutes. So to get the minute we have to divide the seconds by 60. Now we're gonna float this, so math.floor. So once we get the minute, now we have to format that to a string. So get minutes. So here also we're gonna use backtick, and we're gonna append 0 at the beginning of that, and then we're gonna use dollar and curly braces, and inside that we're gonna have the minutes module 60. To get the minute, now we're gonna slice this, and we're gonna only get last 2 digits of the minutes. So we are done with the milliseconds, seconds, and the minutes. Now we're gonna return this as a string. So first of all, we're gonna return minutes, and then after the colon we're gonna have the seconds, and then after another colon we're gonna have get milliseconds. So we're returning one string. First of all, we're gonna have the minute, then the seconds, and then the milliseconds, and that string will be rendered right here inside the h2 every time our component re-renders. So here you can see we have currently 000. Once the stopwatch starts, here we're gonna get the timer values. So this button will be used for toggling from pause and start. So here we're gonna conditionally show the pause and starts. So whenever the is running is true, then we're gonna show pause, otherwise we're gonna show start. So because initially this is false, so we're supposed to see start in the button. So currently it is showing start because the is running is false. So now whenever we click on this button, we're gonna run that function which will handle the toggle. So we have to define that function. So here const handle toggle. So this function will start and pause our timer. So this is very important. So here if the timer is running, in that case we're gonna toggle this. So first of all, we are gonna clear the interval. So we're gonna use the timer ref dot current. So if that is running, we're gonna clear the interval, and also we're gonna set the is running to false. Else whenever the timer is not running, in that case we have to run this. So first of all, we're gonna set is running, we're gonna make this to true, and then here is the important part. So first of all, we're gonna define the start time. So here we're gonna use date dot now. This will return the milliseconds, and we're gonna subtract time from that. So date dot now returns time in milliseconds starting from January 1970. So from January 1970 till now, the gap between them in milliseconds will be returned whenever we use date.now. Now if we subtract current time from this, this will be the starting time of our timer. So here also we are doing the same. Now to start the counting, we need to use the set interval. So we need to have a reference to that. So we're gonna use timer ref dot current, which will have the reference of that, and then we're gonna use the set interval. So the set interval, first of all, it will take one callback, and as a second parameter it will take the time. So for every 100 milliseconds we're gonna run this callback function, and whenever we wanted to reset that interval, we have a reference to reset that interval. Now inside that callback, here we're gonna define the logic. Now here inside we're gonna set the time. We have to subtract, so from the date.now we have to subtract the start time of our stopwatch. So every 100 milliseconds we are running this, and we are setting the stopwatch time. So we are done with the handle toggle. Now we have to work on the reset button. So here on click of that reset button, we're gonna run the function reset timer. So let's now define that. So here inside the reset timer, first of all we're gonna clear the interval, and here inside we're gonna pass the timer ref dot current, which was having the reference to that interval. Now we have to set the is running, so we're gonna make this false, and then we're gonna set the time, and we're gonna make it 0. So we are pretty much done with all the functionality of our button. So here we can start our timer. You can see our stopwatch is working properly. Now we can pause the timer also, and we can reset the timer. So our stopwatch is working properly. Now we have to style that stopwatch so that our application looks nice. So for this, inside that app.css, here we're gonna define all of our CSS, and then to apply that inside our app.js, we have to import that. So we have to import /app.css. So first of all, let's style this container. So here we're gonna target that container. So first of all, we're gonna use the display flex. Now to center that, we're gonna use the justify content to center, and also we're gonna use the align items center, and this way our app will be centered. So you can see it is centered. Now to vertically also center that, we have to add minimum height. So we're gonna add the minimum height property. Now the container will also be centered vertically. Now we're gonna add some nice background color. So here you can see we have some grayish background color. Now let's format this class stopwatch. So dot stopwatch. So we're gonna target the class stopwatch. So we have added some width of 250 pixel, added some nice background color, added padding, border radius to have some rounded corners, and we have added the text align to center, and also added some shadow to the stopwatch. So you can see we have some nice formatting to our stopwatch, and also we have some shadow effects. Now let's format all of these buttons. So dot button. So we have added display flex to the buttons, and also we are using justify content center so that the buttons are nicely centered. Now let's target all of the button elements. So all of the button have some padding of 10 pixel and 20 pixel with some added margin, added font size of 1 em, and also we have set the cursor to pointer, removed the border, and added some border radius of 5 pixel so that the buttons will have some rounded corners. Now we're gonna add some hover effect to the buttons. So whenever we hover over that button, so we're gonna set some nice background color, and also we're gonna add some shadow effects. So whenever we hover over that buttons, the buttons looks really nice with the shadow effect. So our stopwatch application is ready. We can click on the start button, and our stopwatch is start counting, and then we can pause our count, and also we can reset the count back to 0. Now here, this is one simple stopwatch application. Now also you can add some additional functionality to that application also, and also you can customize the look of the application. That means you can customize the CSS, and you can customize the application as per your need. So that's it for the video. See you in the next one. Take care.